Hey, welcome back to WorldwideGiantGrowers.com. We wanted you to join us today. We believe this to be the heaviest orange jack-o'-lantern in the world up to this present time, 2014, October. And we carved this downtown yesterday with like 600 to 800 trick-or-treaters present. We had a great time in Holly, Michigan. And here's some of the great products we used to grow this. We used the B52 from Advanced Nutrients, the Voodoo Juice, Ancient Earth, Overdrive, one of my favorites, Nirvana to feed your mycorrhiza. We also used the Piranha, the Tarantula, among other products they make. Great company, great products. And we're going to be on our quest in 2015 to grow the first 1-ton orange pumpkin. So far there's been several grown, but not too many of them are real orange and real pretty. This is so nice looking that a lot of people, they see it and they think it's fake. They go, is that pumpkin real? And they can't believe it till they get up and actually see the flies landing on it. Flies don't land on plastic too often. And they can see the flesh of the pumpkin. This pumpkin was all, the thinnest wall I could find on it was 7 inches, up to 8, 9, 10, 11 inches. She's a beauty. Just wanted to share that with you today. Hey, here we are. Tiny Schwarzenegger getting the seeds out. We got a good seed count. Look at the seeds. Those are the seeds laying on the floor. There's the inside of Tiny Schwarzenegger. The 1947.5 Clements. So I show a little blip of that. She's on the trailer. I'm going to back up, get a picture of it on the trailer. This is strapped to the trailer so she can be, the trick-or-treaters can enjoy her. On November 25th, downtown Holly, Halloween, we're having 600 trick-or-treaters to watch me carve her. Here she is supported. She's 6 foot wide. She's a beast.
Good. Get ready. We're going to be carving today. What's that? Yeah, Bubba's carving a new state record, 1,947 pound pumpkin. Mom, would you be able to check before you get started? No, it's all right. You chat real quick? Sure. Is Bubba or is Mark? It don't matter. It don't matter? Okay, we'll do it with Bubba. All right. Bubba Presley here from Tupelo, Michigan, where it's always cold.
I believe it's November 21st. We're having an early winter in Michigan here in muddy waters. And we are plowing. The greenhouses have all been taken down. The kin caves are dismantled. There's the 8-track shack. And my good friend Todd Cotterman. We're plowing. And on the tractor here, we got a 12-inch plow. We're turning the soil over. And I'm a firm believer. Some of this hasn't been plowed in 2 years. And I'm a firm believer it needs to be turned over and expose a lot of the insects, the diseases in the soil. We'll expose them to the cold. He's got turf tires on there, so it's kind of struggling, but hey, we're getting her turned over. If you look at this, look at this beautiful soil, man. This is the, I'm going to be taking some of this and sending a sample into the labs and finding out exactly what's in my soil. You're looking at 18 years of working soil. I actually trucked all this soil in here. None of it was here when I started 18 years ago. So anyways, here we are. I think it's a necessity. Flip your soil if you can. If you can find somebody to do it. We're in the warehouse, Advanced Nutrients new warehouse in Detroit, Michigan. And here's some of the fine products we're using to grow the giant veggies. We're going to do a feeding schedule here. Tell you exactly what you should be using to grow your giant pumpkins, watermelons, tomatoes. Okay, welcome back to WorldwideGiantGrowers.com. We've now completed the season. The garden's been plowed. We've pulled a soil sample to send off to the labs to test our soil for next year's venture. The pumpkin's in the compost pile. Halloween's over. Now we're into December. I've had a lot of requests for feeding programs. People want a feeding schedule. So I put together, I've tried to wrap my mind around a feeding schedule, to put one on paper, and I just can't do it. There's just too many variables in people's soil. If you're growing in sand, if you're growing in clay, whatever your soil is. The first thing I recommend you do, you want a feeding schedule, is you need to have a soil test done. You know, I did my soil test, and here I found out that my calcium last year was 4,000, which is really high. I found out my potassium was 312. Found out I had a little, as usual, low on boron. In 2013, I did soil test and tissue test. This year I didn't do that, no tissue test at all. I found out in 2013 that whatever my soil test was showing, the same thing came out in the tissue test. So I thought, why spend all this money on all these different tests when I pretty much know where I'm at? And my soil's pretty consistent. It was low again in 2014 on the same areas that it was in 2013. So what I do is I work on supplementing those areas. I'm low on phosphorus, so I decided I'd use the overdrive, Advanced Nutrients Overdrive, at the right times, when the fruit is developing, when the fruit is trucking along. So some of the other products that were low, boron, zinc, they're in the Sensi Grow, they're in the Jungle Juice. I used both, Sensi Grow, Sensi Bloom, Jungle Juice. But to put it all on paper, I can tell you for a feeding schedule, what I would recommend you do with your pumpkins, all your plants, pumpkins, long gourds. For you people who don't know, this is your first time seeing our videos, my name is Mark Clements from WorldwideGiantGrowers.com. I now hold 3 state records that I grew this year. A state record long gourd, 138.5 inches, which is also the United States national record now. It's the second longest long gourd all time ever grown in the world, 138.5 inches. I now also, for the 4th year in a row, Michigan state record tomato holder, 4.4 pound tomato. And my pumpkin this year, my tiny Schwarzenegger pumpkin, 1,947 pounds is a new Michigan state record. And I'm making this claim, which might get me in a little trouble with some people, but I really don't care. I believe it's true. As far as to my knowledge, the 1947 is the largest orange, the key word is orange, pumpkin in the world. All the pumpkins bigger than mine are cream colored, they're squash looking. Mine was beautiful, perfect shaped orange pumpkin. Beautiful. The perfect pumpkin. So next year we're going to put that over the top, grow a 2,000 pounder. Anyhow, so much for me boasting. Anyways, that's my credentials as far as doing this. I've been growing for 20 years, and I have now, in the past 2 or 3 years, I've really put together what it takes to grow these pumpkins. I believe I'm there. So people have been asking me for a feeding schedule. The first thing I say you need to do is the root mass expanders. You need to have the root mass expanders, which will keep you disease free, especially you people that are in high disease areas. You've got your voodoo juice, which is your bacillus. You've got your piranha, which is your trichodermas, which trichodermas are big on keeping the diseases out of plants, eating the disease in the soil. And you got your mycorrhizas. You got your tarantula, which is your mycorrhiza, which is a biggie. I know that, here's the tarantula. I know that Pete Glazer this year grew a 2,036 pound pumpkin. Congratulations to Pete and Cindy Glazer of Napa, California. And I did send Pete an 8-ounce sample of tarantula, and then he told me that later he went down to a hydro store and bought a quart. He bought a quart of tarantula. And so he ended up, and he said late in the season he did start having a couple of disease issues surface, but he wasn't using the piranha, he wasn't using the voodoo juice. So I did not have any disease issues this year, and I'm in a heavy disease area. I've been battling diseases. In 2011, I lost my first 1,000 pound pumpkin, never made it to the scales. If you watch my watermelon video back in 2011, that pumpkin, it got to about 1,032 pounds and it rotted. It was a foaming stump, had all kinds of issues. But since I've gone to these root mass expanders, these 3 products, mycorrhiza, trichodermis, and bacillus, I'm not having disease issues anymore. Not only that, I think I'm getting much bigger root systems and much bigger fruit. But as far as the feeding schedule goes, re-inoculate your plants every 2 to 3 weeks. Re-inoculate the entire root zone with the root mass expanders. And I do that right on through from the time I start the seedling in the ground right on up till like the 1st of August. As long as I look disease free, I might even hit it some more in the middle of August. And by after that, you can probably stop. Then as far as a weekly feeding schedule goes, you have to do a soil test. Find out where you're low at, where you need to catch up at. If you're low on boron, you use the old borax, tilling some borax in the soil. Some of this stuff like boron, you have to be very careful. If a little boron goes a long ways, and if you try applying it, you could mess your soil, totally mess your soil up. So you got to be careful. You got to do some research on this stuff. But as far as, getting your pumpkins heavy, you want a feeding schedule, I think you need to know where you're at. If you're low on phosphorus, phosphorus is a fruit producer, then overdrive. Overdrive's the way to go at fruit development stage and then all the way through. I like to do like a trickle feeding. Even though I know my numbers are pretty decent in my soil, I figure I do the Benny Meyer. Benny Meyer talked about trickle feeding. He used a trace amount of fertility in his water each and every day. That's kind of where I'm trying to go with this. And I recommend the same thing. You can do that with the Sensi Grow, Sensi Bloom, Connoisseur, Jungle Juice, your choice. Some people ask me, how much do I have to spend to grow a pumpkin, a giant pumpkin? Well, depends on what you're shooting for. If you're shooting for a world record pumpkin, I'm going to say, or the results I had this year, my results were really good. I was like top 6 pumpkins in the world this year. I was like number 2 as far as an average weight goes. My top 4 average pumpkins were like 1,753 pounds. If you're shooting for those kind of numbers, I'm going to say you need $1,000 worth of nutrients per plant. As a plant is covering 800 square feet, that's a huge area. And to do that trickle feed like I'm talking about, that's what it would take. You have to adjust that according to your soil though. Where you're low at, where you might be high at, you need to make the adjustments yourself. There's different products. One thing I use this year I didn't use before is the bud candy. I use the bud candy to give the sugars to keep the beneficials in the ground healthy and growing and aggressive. Make sure the plant doesn't run out of sugars. There's more than one way to apply those. Humic acids, when it's cold and you have cold snaps, use your humic acids. But I just really can't put this on paper week 1, week 2, week 3. It all has a lot to do with the weather. Like I say, when the cold snaps come in, it's time for some ancient earth. Hit it with some humic acids. The F1 Fulvix, I did a lot of foliar spraying. You want to use the F1 in your foliar sprays. You can spray on the big bud, the B52. You need to read your plant. Are the leaves green and healthy? If they are, you're feeding them. Feed them some more. They start getting that darker green, you might want to back off a little. You don't want them to get all green and bloated and go with excessive nitrogen. Then you'll throw things out of balance. I pretty much this year didn't do the tissue test. 1 soil test is all I did in the beginning, and I just read my leaves. I read my leaves, went back and looked at photographs from years before, studied that leaf real intensely. And different plants got different amounts of stuff. Like the 2009 Wallace, Pat Bull Wallace, my 1768. That plant, I didn't seem to be able to ever green that plant up as green as I would like to have seen it. And I just kept spraying the leaves, giving them the foliar feeds. So that's what you need to do. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. And the dog is barking. So I apologize for that. But anyways, we'll wrap things up here. Things are going to be a little different this year. We're going to have a new program in 2015. Going to have some new products on board. But I would like to tell everybody, hold still. We're not going to have membership sign up until March 1st. I got a few things to put together, and I need to get together rosettes and plaques for the payout for this year, and we will keep in touch. If you have any questions, contact me at mark@worldwidegiantgrowers.com with any of your questions. Until then, hey, have a great holiday season, and we'll see you in 2015. Shh! Remember, keep it a secret, but go tell a friend. Bubba's Secret Garden.
Rocking over digging the sounds. Igor on chains backed by his betting arm. Coffin bangers were about to arrive. With their vocal group, the Crypt and Fire. They played the Monster Mash. It was a graveyard smash.